And welcome one and all. This is Empower Volusia Common Sense, and my name is Jason Davis, and we're coming to you from an undisclosed location, hidden somewhere in an iron bunker in the upper highlands of West Volusia County, and we're guarded by 2 rabid Pomeranians and 1 crazy cat. That's right, and we're out there on iTunes, on YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook. We're up on the Google Cloud. We're everywhere you want to be, and you could just definitely find us at www.jasondavispodcast.com or drop me a line at jasondavispodcast@gmail.com. Wow, we get all that fun stuff out there. Hey, you know, there's something coming up here very near in the future, very near and dear to my heart, and hopefully we'll be getting everything together for you, and we'll let you know what's coming up. So it's a little teaser here. Tease. Yeah, that's right. I'm not telling you what it is. Nope, not going to do it, but we will let you know very soon, and it should be out just in time for Christmas. What a great idea. Anyways, today's date is November 4th, 2019. And, wow, this past weekend's been quite the whirlwind with all the talking heads speaking of impeach. It's on ABC, it's on NBC, it's on CBS, it's on CNN, it's everywhere. I mean, this is their life. This is their truthification. Truthification being if you tell a lie or something that's untrue constantly leak it out to the media so that they can report on it and then report it back, and then you can say, see? They talked about it, so it must be the truth. That's right. We're using the mainstream media. That's what Congress is doing. They're using mainstream media as their verification of a falsehood to make it a truth. Did that make any sense? In other words, they leak it out, they report it, and then they talk about it again, the Congress. Or just certain congressional members. It's called truthification, folks. It's a kind of a new word. I saw it on the internet. It's not in the dictionary yet, but maybe we can use it. Use it all the time you can. Anyways, the congressional leadership, the Democrat side, are releasing the transcripts of the 12 or so people they've interviewed in these closed-door depositions, but we do not know when that will happen. That could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, or 6 months, or even a year from now. And will they even redact anything out of it? And will it be the truth? Because they've been using truthification, as I just explained, for months, and they've been leaking lies. And they're constantly leaking this information about these interviews from down in the cellar of the Congress, behind closed doors, under sworn secrecy.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Maybe on their side, but definitely not on my side. I will tell you as it is, and that's why we're here. According to the new rules that were enacted on Halloween, how fitting, the House of Representatives will now allow the Republican side of the House to call witnesses and to ask questions. Yes. But only if the chairman of the Intel Committee agrees with those witnesses and that particular line of questioning. That's making this a formal inquiry into the President of the United States. But still, they're stacking the deck against him. I mean, when you limit what somebody can ask and who they can call as a witness, really? That's stacking the deck. That's, one of the things that it's kind of interesting about doing this podcast here. I got to just say this off script a little bit. I listen to some of these newscasters as they do their reports, and lo and behold, they use the same terminology that I'm using. For example, the House of Representatives is like a circus, and the clowns are running the big top. I've said that. And then within a day or two, they pick it up. Interesting. How about, or the Democrats in the Republican-strong districts are committing political kamikaze. Yes, they've said that too. I use these little things just to see who's kind of paying attention. They haven't called me out yet. The name is Jason Davis Podcast, so go ahead and call me out if you want. But I use these unique phrases just to see who's actually listening to the podcast and appreciate them for listening, or maybe their staff is listening and just relaying the information to them. But it's appreciate them kind of tuning in here. So now comes the issue that we started this podcast about. Impeachment of the President of the United States, again. Well, after looking over Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, something that a lot of people should actually do is read that particular document to know what's really going on. And I quote from Article 1, Section 2, "The House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment." At this time, I need to interject a little bit of a background information for you here. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say a simple majority is needed to pass articles of impeachment. What? They don't need 2/3. They just, it doesn't say they need a simple majority. The truth of the matter is, the time there, or the amount of votes necessary, has been left out. Why?
You can't handle the truth!
One would think that with such a situation of great momentous proportions, the House of Representatives would state they needed a 2/3 vote to pass articles of impeachment. But they know they don't have that. Now then it goes on, so when they do this, and they will pass their articles of impeachment if they only use a simple majority, is what they're planning on doing. Now then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate could have a vote as to whether or not they even accept the articles of impeachment. That's kind of part of their rules. Each house has their own rules. So the trial, and then the trial would begin for the president if they actually did the impeachment. But Senator McCollum said that the articles of impeachment that would be passed to the Senate from the House at this point is dead on arrival. In other words, that vote I just talked about, this can be done on a simple majority vote, which is 50% plus 1. And there's 100. I'll do the math for you now. I know there might be some people out there that need this help. There are 100 senators, so 50% is 50 of them, and they need one more vote. Now there's a lot more than that Republicans, so it may be dead on arrival when it gets there. It is stated that in the Constitution it is, that the Senate needs to have a 2/3 or a supermajority vote to actually convict a sitting president and remove him from office. That's impeachment, folks. This ridiculous thing that they're doing, they know it's going to fail. They're only doing it to muddy up the water. Then we'll get more into that. So the Democrats do not have the votes to actually convict a sitting president. Oh, such a process. I'll tell you, it's really crazy. You gotta look up all kinds of crazy stuff and look through history books and constitutions and everything. It's such a process. But you know what really needs to happen about this time in our history of this great nation? We actually need to have a clarification on high crimes and misdemeanors. See, what's considered a high crime? That's what we need to figure out. What is a misdemeanor for the president? See, if you lie to Congress, it's a felony. But if Congress lies to you or a politician lies to you, it's just him doing his job. Maybe we need to figure it out. What are high crimes and misdemeanors? Granted, treason and bribery are high crimes. I agree with that. Wrongful appropriation of government funds would also be a high crime. There's an interesting one. Using their office to further their career or promote their family members is a high crime. It is. But talking with a fellow president from a foreign nation and asking them to look into corruption from a previous election that was interfered with, well, that is the job of the president. Barack Obama should have done this. He did not. So that would be dereliction of duty, which could be considered a misdemeanor. There are some high crimes and misdemeanors. Maybe we need to clarify this for future uses, and I think that should be a bill on the floor. I have been asked by a couple of people now, why is the Constitution so vague on this process? Why is it just kind of floating out there? They have to guess. Well, if you look back in the history of our nation, back in the 1700s, the latter part of that century, people were this one word, and it's hard for some people to understand. The people were honorable. That's right. People lived with a code of honor.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
No one was getting rich while they sat in Congress or in the Senate. No one. A lot of them did it for free. The president was given a very small stipend, and our capital was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Remember Liberty Hall, where the Liberty Bell is? That's where the Capitol was. No one, and the Congress and the Senate was, quite honestly, run at that time by men of honor. They worked on a code. Your word is your bond, which we very rarely see anymore. People were specific in their words as to what they wanted. There was no gray area, no innuendo, no BS whatsoever, and everybody worked for the good of the nation. Try that one again. And everybody worked for the good of the nation. In the early years of this nation, no one even ever thought of impeaching a president of the United States for doing his job or doing the work of the people. And to be honest with you, there was no Republican-Democratic fighting going on in our legislature. There were no parties. Many congressmen and senators in those early years warned everybody about party politics. I even read a short little history of George Washington one time, and I've read in that George Washington warned our Senate and Congress about getting involved in party politics. I do believe his statement was something to the effect of, be careful, because soon the parties will run the nation, not the people. Now, I may be wrong on that, but it does sound like something George Washington would have said, and it's good advice to, because look at what's going on today. Ridiculous, constant, bipartisan fighting. You're left, you're right, you're wrong, you're right. It's ridiculous. I may be wrong on that, but, it is. No, I'm not. It's ridiculous, and they're not getting anything done. Because party politics has gotten in the way of our Congress doing their job. They are not passing any legislation on immigration, taxes, trade, or anything else at this time because they're so entrenched, so just foaming at the mouth rabid about the impeachment of a duly elected president of the United States. Yes, he was duly elected. Yes, I also know and I agree that Hillary Clinton did get more popular vote. That's not a problem. But the Constitution of the United States, you remember that pesky document that gets in the way of everybody trying to do whatever they're trying to do up there? It states there will be an electoral college, and that each state, and there were only 13 at the time, will be allotted so many electoral votes attributed by population. This is not a secret. This is not something that just fell out of the trees yesterday. This has been there for over 240 years. And up until 2016, no one has really had a problem with it, especially if they won.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Our forefathers had some great wisdoms. They really did. To realize that certain areas, ports of business, financial hubs, large cities, harbors, places where imports, exports were going on, all that stuff would have more popular votes than the outlying cities and areas and part of the country. The big port in the country at that time was New York. That was the harbor. They had more votes than Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's the way it was. So, more people lived in New York City than any other city in the country at the time. So that's how they had more popular votes, and more people were keeping up with politics, And without an electoral college, evening the playing field for all the citizens of a country today, New York City would have been electing every single president since the dawn of our country. As it sits today, our population of the states of California, the state of Illinois, the state of New York have some of the largest voting blocks in the nation. They would be the three places that would be choosing our president. Wow, talk about a one-sided elections. Those are pretty heavy Democrat states. So why do I go down this garden trail? Well, because, my dear listener, in the 1700s when our Constitution was written, it was all about being of honor and a man of your word. And the complaints that are being registered now by the Democratic Party about the Electoral College and what's fair, well, they're in direct violation and conflict of the Constitution of the United States.
Mama says stupid is as stupid does.
And now talking about the stupid is as stupid does section of the show. Still in politics, Hillary Clinton did something really stupid recently. I saw this over the weekend too, as if it's really her doing something stupid is new. Yes, it was somebody did a comedy skit somewhere where they had these kids sitting around a campfire and a scary story was being told and he made it into the White House and everybody was like, that's not scary, how come? And then the quote unquote scary video and the punchline of this humor was Hillary with a flashlight under her chin going, and it was because of the Electoral College, trying to be scary. Quite ridiculous, if you ask me. And I guess you did, because guess what? You tuned in to this particular podcast here.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So now let the games begin. That's right. And I just heard this on the news, that for individuals that were subpoenaed by the chairmanship of the Intelligence Committee, the one gentleman who's supposed to be in charge of the impeachment inquiry did not show up for their closed-door testimony. Oh, no. Well, maybe because the Congress passed a rule on Halloween that all testimony now will be done in the open, in the sunshine, available to the public for viewing. They passed the law. Guess what? These people were supposed to come in for a closed door, hidden in the dark in the hollowed cellars and dark dungeons of the Congress. But they didn't show up. And you guys made the rules. These people are just following them. Remember that, Adam. And so good on these folks for standing up for the law that was just passed by the House of Representatives with over 230 votes, which is, by the way, a very simple majority. Like I used to tell my daughter, be careful what you ask for, because you know what? You just might get it. So let me tell you what is going to happen with this impeachment ridiculous story. The impeachment inquiry will continue on with all 6 committees. Yes, I said all 6 committees doing their investigations. Of course, the President of the United States is not, and I say again, is not afforded the right of facing his accusers, nor the right of counsel in these inquiries. They're violating his constitutional Miranda rights. Shame on you. You know, the old, you have the right to remain silent, anything you say and can, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're violating those rights. Anyways, the Democrats in the House of Representatives, with such vitriol against our president because he won the election, yes, and we're not doing the baby again. But just remember the baby crying, because that's what they're doing. That was his only crime, by the way. He won an election. So anyways, the Democrats will write the articles of impeachment, and the articles of impeachment will come to the floor of the House of Representatives and will be debated, discussed, and voted on, to which at this point they would pass. They'll pass. And they'll say, fine, we now send the articles of impeachment to the Senate. So why are we talking all about this? Why are we bringing up this impeachment again process? Well, because, ladies and gentlemen, the circus is once again in town. It just never leaves that town, and the clowns are literally running the show. So because the Democrats in the House of Representatives know for a fact that they are going to lose an impeachment trial for the president. Let me tell you what, folks, this is what the circus and the clowns are doing. Listen carefully. I'm going to explain it. I've been in politics. I was the county chair. I had to go through the same kind of ridiculous nonsense as a government leader here in Volusia County as Donald J. Trump is going through up in Washington, D.C. I was abused constantly by the media. I was fighting against the extreme left and extreme right. I was fighting every day I got up and went to work just to get my job done. Poor guy. I feel for the guy. I know what he's going through. But let me tell you what this is, folks, because I've lived through it. Yes, I did live through it. This is nothing more than an act of muddying up the political waters so that they could possibly win the presidential campaign against Donald Trump and with almost any candidate that they would nominate for president. Maybe they could get enough Republicans to back off and say, no, we don't want to support him. He's under impeachment. And I can just hear it now during the campaigns. You can't vote for him. He's under impeachment. No, he is not under impeachment. He is not being impeached until the trial. And the trial won't happen because the guys that are running for the presidential candidacy on the Democrat side have to be in the Senate to sit for that trial. I said that in a previous podcast. They all have to be seated no later than noon, 6 days a week. Oh, so they're not going to push for an impeachment trial. No, they're going to push this thing on into June or July after the Democratic presidency is finished. Yes, that's right, you, listener of this particular podcast, need to think this through for a minute. He's just under impeachment inquiry at this moment. They are just looking to see if there is something they can impeach him with. In the legal terms, it's called a fishing expedition. By the way, he is not, and I say again, not been impeached. They want you to think he is being impeached just so they can win the election. Just a few more of the lies that the Democrats, the candidates are pushing, and their private agendas. That's all this is. The lies of the Democratic candidates and their private agendas against the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, there ain't no free lunch, and Medicare for all is $52 trillion. Get over it. I don't know why you're so scared about health care. So, you, the American citizen, that's right, that's you, right there, you. I'm pointing at you. Have one job to do, one job. And your job will come to conclusion in November of 2020, 1 year from now. You need to, until then, listen to the issues. Decide whether or not you're better off today than you were 4 years ago. And then go into that voting booth, and here's your job. Vote. That's all I'm going to tell you to do. Go into that voting booth and vote. It is your one job you have to do. One job. As I say on the YouTube videos, which some of them are absolutely hilarious, you only have one job. Do it to the best of your ability. And all you have to do that is just use a little common sense.